Welcome to the Wisdom Club podcast, where we talk to inspirational business leaders in our community that inspire us to lead a life full of wisdom and build a business as worthy of our wildest dreams. I'm your host, Leo Chen. I'm a tech entrepreneur, real estate advisor, and investor located right here in sunny coastal Orange County, California. And the goal of this podcast is to expand your mind and share what's possible. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wisdom Club podcast. And I'm super excited today because I have my good friend, Michael Ugarte here. We've met recently, in person for the first time after I've been masterminding for, years. And so super grateful to have him in my network and super grateful to have him here today. He's a wealth of knowledge with over 20 years in real estate business. And I'm just super excited to what he's going to share with you guys today. Without further ado, I'll give you Mike Ugarte.
Leo, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. Like you said, it's awesome to be here with you after knowing you for as long as we've known each other and finally meet and now on a podcast. So again, thanks for having me. And yeah, I just wanted to, talk a little bit about what, a couple things that realtors or we as agents should do more of that we don't really do as much as, in our industry. And part of it is we're not taught or it's not talked about much. One of them is, investing in real estate. We help so many people buy properties and invest in properties. And, it's crazy how many realtors just don't do it themselves.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And those are super big topics, I think doesn't get talked about enough. And, which is why I wanted to have you on so we can talk about these things. For context, can you just give us just a general background on, aside from being in real estate for quite some time, what area you're from, and then what's your business structure, and just give us some background.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm from the really Miami, Florida area. I work Miami-Dade County and Broward County. Born and raised in the area also. Before getting into real estate, I worked with my brother. He owns a construction company, and we did mostly commercial construction. I got into real estate. We did a few developments together, me as an agent, and him as a developer. And I have my broker license. I was a broker for a while, and then transitioned back to being an agent. Was a manager for a company for 8 years, and now I'm back to being an agent and have a team. And I'm also investing personally, and then I'm involved in other organizations, which is another thing if we have time we can talk about on advocacy.
So. Yeah, absolutely. I just appreciate being around you because I've seen you grown, and a lot of people enter our mastermind with a lot of frustrations. They're like, oh, this doesn't work. How do I'm plateaued. I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't have enough time. Business is driving me crazy and all that stuff. And I love watching, people over 6 months or 8 months or a year to a point where they're like, oh, this is how, real estate should be done. I wish I had, gotten into a group sooner that we can do all of these things, and to see those kind of things come to fruition is super exciting for me. We're all growing together, and we've been able to see each other grow, and so I'm happy to have that. And so, but you have a super interesting, background, and is you are born in South America?
No, I was born in Miami, actually.
Oh, you were born in Miami, right?
I was born in Miami, which is interesting because very few of us are born down here anyways. Most people are from somewhere else. Just like my parents. My father's born in Cuba and immigrated here in the 60s. And my mother was born in Nicaragua. And she was actually studying here, and they met while she was in school, and he was in the Navy, actually. So, and then I was born a couple years after that.
Yeah. And so So, you and I talked a little bit about you having a lot of experience growing up, going back and forth, between countries and things like that, and have family and things like that. And so you speak Spanish fluently, and that's very, very helpful. I've learned that if I could speak Spanish in our industry, like it's a huge, huge leg up. And so it's good to have you, because maybe sometime I need to lean on you on some things Spanish related. And then how did you, so you worked with your brother in commercial, and he was doing contracting work, and you were doing part of it more on the sales side. Is that kind of how you kind of entered the industry?
Well, I entered the industry, really got started on the residential side with the goal to move over to the commercial side.
Mm.
At the time. But yeah, working with him, I was basically running the back office for him, all the administrative stuff,
Mhm.
and helping him with that part of the business. And he was the contractor. And then I decided to get into real estate, learn it, transition into commercial so we can start doing our own developments, which we did until 2008, which is what what all realtors, everybody in real estate, the defining moment when a lot changed for a lot of us. So
And
so
so
yeah.
then at that time, with it being down, you started moving toward the position you are in now, which is, residential real estate sales, but also, of course, you're interested in the investment side, so branching out into that as well.
Right. I mean, at that time, if you remember back 2008, everything stopped, especially on the commercial side,
Mhm.
on the banking side. So there was no building. Builders weren't building. There was nothing.
Right.
So I had to transition to residential. And really, that's what got me started doing a lot of short sales. And then also having a lot of investor clients. And after a couple of years, I was like, wait a minute, I can do this too. And that got me started on the whole investment side.
I see. I see. So 14 years later, you've kind of, been knee deep in all the residential, sales, and also investments. So super awesome. So let's talk about what you were starting to mention earlier, which is, investing in real estate. How should the average agent think about this?
You should think about it as an opportunity. I know that traditionally, a lot of agents think of it as the investor is the anti-agent, like the enemy, because when we think of it, it's, hey, they're lowballing us and they just want things, but it's not really that. We have to understand that they have to run a business, and they need to, and in running that business, they need to make a profit, or they need to answer to investors, and there's a reasoning why they offer what they offer. Our job is to help find the right deal for that. And that's as an agent. But we also should think about, as real estate agents, we have a lot of advantages that we also can be investors and invest. And for me, when I think of investments and investing, I think of it as an opportunity to improve my neighborhood. Because whether you're buying to flip, you're fixing the house before you sell it. If you're buying to rent, you're going to make repairs or certain repairs to that property so you can maximize the rent. And either way you're doing it, you're improving the property. The big elephant, yeah, we're going to make money, and which is why we're in the business. And but beyond that, we're also serving the community, because we're improving their home, a place for them to live. We're providing a place for them to live, a better place for them to live.
Yeah, I think the same way. I think investors, you can love them or hate them, but they are extremely efficient. They're efficient in how they fund the property. They're efficient in how they find the property. They're efficient at how they fix it up. They're efficient about how to get the dollars that they feel like they can get for it, and they're going to push that envelope. Where on the other side, you think about realtors and general sales, they're very inefficient, right? Inefficient meaning like they don't have the process. They're usually, people first, right? So they spend a lot of time talking, and it's very, very inefficient when you're just gabbing and building relationships is one thing, but like when you start like going to their parties and doing this and doing that, socializing as part of your business building, then it can be very, very inefficient, right? So they tend to leave everything off on the side, while they try to make the sale, but then they feel like making the sale means giving gifts and showing up birthday parties and going to the club or something like that, right? So I just see that as like it's on the other side of the spectrum is very, very inefficient, and not everybody's like that. Of course, a lot of people are very professional and build a relationship. Just because I don't go party and get drunk with you doesn't mean I can't be your agent, right?
Right.
So I think maybe some people may not know that or think that, but that's the two ways to kind of think about it. Is that we don't hate on them. We just know that, hey, they're being very efficient. Obviously, they think they can find a property for that price. Obviously, they think they can do it for a certain price. I know I've talked to so many investors, and their renovation cost, price per square feet, varies so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could be, I don't know about you guys' market and the price per square feet there, but like we can range anywhere from $200, $250 a square feet, all the way up to like $800 a square feet.
Yeah.
It depends on who you talk to, right? And so they must figure that they're going to make their money one way or the other, but everybody's all the investor situation are very different. So they really want to go after only specific things, specific neighborhoods, specific duplexes, or specific, down to the year. Like I don't want anything, built after 1960 or something like that. So very, very specific. And but talk to people about why realtors should invest in real estate.
Well, I think two reasons, right? It's a way for us to build wealth outside of just helping people buy and sell homes, but also we should be leaders of the community. I mean, I see myself as a leader of my community, as a realtor, and we should be an example and to others around us, and also know how to do it so we can help other people. I mean, it's great if I can help you buy a house, but if I can also advise you on how to build more wealth, I have more value to you. And so, it improves everything. It improves your family, your lifestyle, the neighborhood. It just it trickles down to the community. And so I think that's why it's important, and we should learn it. I mean, we've been given a great opportunity to learn this business, and to help other people buy and sell. Investing is not that much different. We have a lot of advantages, a lot of investors which they have.
Yeah, I talk a lot with not only my clients but also associates about the spectrum of clients we possibly have, and we're taught like buyers become sellers, right? And so I've extended that. Renters become buyers, right? Then buyers become sellers, and then sellers become second home buyers or investors, right? And I've had so many clients that they bought their first home, they have a young daughter, maybe in their late teens or early 20s in college, and say, hey, when I buy my home, I'm an example to my daughter, to my son, that they're next, right? They're not gonna wait till like me 20 years to buy a home. Like now that I see that it's possible and what it took to get here, we're going to set them up for success, right away, so that they can own their own homes. So we're extending that legacy. But on top of that, just showing them, the education of which I'm constantly doing. Hey, what do you're not looking to move and anything like that, but what about, putting something down on an investment that could grow for you? And right now, the minimum you can get a 2-bedroom for in our market, for example, 400,000, 450, and then rent it out. I know you don't know how to do it, but I've got resources. I'll help you do it. That's what you want to do. And here's how you would win. You would win by the time that goes by, the equity you're going to earn, and then at some point you're going to get some passive income, and then you'll have a safety net too. There's an asset that's that you can rely on, down the road. And somebody else is paying your mortgage for you. I mean, you can't think of anything else that allows you to do that. You can't buy a car and do that, right?
You can't.
So it's one of those unique assets that I think people should always consider as part of their portfolio of some sort if they have a portfolio.
And, and if you're in the real estate industry and you don't have that as part of your portfolio, it's almost, to be blunt, is then why'd you get a license in the first place?
Yeah.
Because, like somebody a mentor told me a long time ago, is you could be rich helping other people buy a property, but you're only going to create wealth if you start investing.
Yeah.
So, and that's how wealth is built, is through investments, and real estate's a big part of it. Something I saw the other day was, Bill Gates is rich because of Microsoft, but he's wealthy because he's also one of the largest landowners in the United States.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A lot of agricultural land, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, a lot of agricultural land.
Yeah, I mean, you can go down the line. Everybody, will own real estate because of all the advantages. I mean, there's nothing else that gives you all those advantages, of equity, asset, land's not going away. It's, when you own it, right? And then all the tax advantages that the government gives you, like the government's not going to give you a tax cut because you bought a car, right? But when you buy a house, like, you can, right? And so that's, I think if people knew more about that, they can save and make more money, down the line. So I agree with that. So tell me about this advocacy for local government.
Well, here's one thing that started for me. This journey started about a year ago. Is I joined an organization, and if it's okay, I'll mention the name.
Sure.
It's a National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and I'm on the board. And I became a government affairs director. And like a lot of people, I didn't want to do it because I was like, I don't want to be political. I'm not, I don't want to get into politics. I don't want to do this. But what I realized is it's not really about politics. It's not about red or blue or purple or whatever. It's about having a seat on the table and being a voice, right? And being a voice for your customers. And one of the big things right now is we have a housing crisis or an affordable housing crisis. And, how do we create more housing that's affordable for teachers, frontline workers like in nurses and police and firemen, because everything's getting priced so high. And, who's gonna advocate for them, and really it should be us, because we know the stories. We talk to them every day. One of the things that was a big eye-opener, with one of the senators in my state, we had a call and we were talking about, and I talked about one of my customers and the fact that they were first-time home family and they had an FHA and they were getting beat out and there was nothing available. And it was really interesting how, and it wasn't the senator, it was somebody from their office, the questions they started firing back at us. And they asked as many questions as I was asking them. And we got to the point where, hey, we need to communicate more because we want to know more what's happening on the local level, what the cities are doing, because they're more, they're on the federal level. And we think they know, but they don't. They only know what's happening on the federal level. And one thing I realized by advocating, and I don't mean doing that because, we have NAR that does that. FAR takes care of the state. I'm talking about the local level, because really the laws that impact us the most happen at our city council meetings, right? Through zoning and those things, and being involved in that, at the very least, knowing what's going on or showing up to a meeting to voice what we know as experts, right? We're real estate experts. If they want to put a townhouse development down the road, we're going to have people that are not in my backyard, but they're not thinking about economically, and they're thinking, okay, I have my home, I don't want that there. But what about the other people that are looking to find a home, that don't have a home, that have to rent instead, or there's not enough they need a place to live. We need to put them somewhere. Does it really make sense for it to go? We need to advocate for that, as long as it makes sense for for our communities.
Yeah, I've experienced that myself here because I on this show actually had our city mayor come on and talk about, and actually she came on before she became a mayor. She was a city council, and then when she became a mayor she also came on, but to just talk about what's going on in the city that she's dealing with. And same thing, I think every city probably in most of the metro counties in the country are all dealing with affordability and stuff like that. So it's not just California and New York anymore.
No,
It's everywhere, and a lot of those local things too are decided by the city council about because they have to approve whether a certain development has to go up and what it's zoned for and things like that. A big battle in our city here is over a veterans cemetery, for the veterans, and they've been going at it for the last 5 years as far as exactly which site to settle on, and the residents want this, and then the government wants something else for whatever reason, and so there's been a lot of fight back and forth. So I do understand a lot of that, but affordable housing is a big deal for everybody. And but I will say, this is one really quick story I think people appreciate is I talked to one of the lenders, and I just happened to catch up with her and say, hey, how's it going? How's your week going? And things like that. And she goes, oh, it was awesome. Today, we closed on a loan for a client, and we got her a home for $600,000, and she put $5,000 down. And I'm like, you did? Like, how did you make that happen? And she goes, well, it turns out that she's a frontline worker, and I found a program for frontline workers to be able to put $5,000 down on a loan, to be able to do that. And so we closed on it, and I'm just super happy because that's one win,
right.
for the little guys, the people who are having a hard time. And then I said, and the kicker here is that she's a nurse, and she didn't even have $5,000. She borrowed the $5,000 from her mom. So literally, she put nothing down, and now she's a homeowner, right? For very little bit of money, right? And so so I just want to share that story because people out there who might be having a hard time finding a home and things like that, like, keep looking. There are things out there to help you. Even just a good realtor can help you, to just guide you through and give you a path and give you a plan to be able to do that. So I think I totally agree with you. Anything that we can do to do that, to help people, is a benefit to all of us, because we don't want to have people not being able to afford homes.
No, at the very least, know what's going on. Like, I would challenge everybody to go to a city council meeting. Just sit in there. You're gonna hear some crazy things, but don't just sit and see what's going on and find out what's going on in your community. And if you want to speak, you ask permission to speak, and you just prepare a statement and say it. I've been to one and a couple, and then you get invited to be on a committee. That's totally up to you. They ask, why don't you be on the housing committee? You have a lot of good ideas, and you know what's going on, and that's something to consider to getting involved, or find an organization like the local board, and get on their government advocacy or something to be involved, because these decisions are going to be made whether we're involved or not, right? So we might as well have a voice in the decisions that affect our customers, and our business at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is our business at the end of the day, because housing overall, it impacts everybody. What happens to your neighbor happens, can happen to you, and it can all come around. So
yeah, and even just an idea is changing. Like, there's something that I think it started actually. I don't quote me on this, but I think it happened in Temecula. in one of the organizations, they had 20 people show up to a city council meeting, and only one spoke, but 20 people. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, it made a big impact.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did was they were able to get a commercial zone, an area that was zoned commercial, and they were able to change the zoning to allow them to put multifamily on there
Yeah.
and do apartments. So I mean, that's a little win, that's a little thing, but and I know that in other places they're doing similar things, but just changing that zoning just created, like, another 50 to 100 um homes, units, apartments for 100 families
Yeah.
to move into.
Yeah,
So
and so obviously that's one way to kind of help the situation. Another way is being a realtor, helping educate, people like, hey, you don't need 20%. If you waited till you save that 20%, you're not going to be able to afford it anymore. And
right.
I mean, how fast can you save up, that much money? And by the time, you inflation, well, home prices went up 23% here in our county, right? Like you're going to make 23% more in a year, to keep up. Like just get your foot in the door and you'll figure out later. And once you have an asset,
Yeah.
that then it tends to give you more security and things like that to at some point when it appreciates enough to be able to move up, right? That's how a lot of I get asked all the time because I work here in coastal cities that have a lot of luxury properties. Like, how did somebody afford a $6 million, $8 million home? Well, they started with a a $300,000 home,
Right.
right? And then after 10 years, they got a bigger home, and then their income improved, or they started a business, and then they were able to add on top of that and use the asset to be able to either put a collateral on it for a business loan, and they did that, and the business did well, and then they were able to have good income and more asset and be able to buy a bigger home or a second home, right? And
Well,
that's
yeah.
how you do it.
Well, yeah, there was down here, for example, I had a customer for about 10 years ago, about $150,000 townhouse. Was single, got married,
Mhm.
um, and then his income improved, and he bought that with a $20,000 down payment. And when he sold that 10 years later, he had $120,000 that he could put towards a new house. And with the wife and a couple kids, and he needed a bigger space. He doesn't buy that if he doesn't have that townhouse.
Yeah, if he
And he
didn't.
had an income with his wife, so they were able to afford something in the 500. So they got a nice home in the $500,000 range, between the two of them, because they had that money there, right, and sitting in the house.
I mean, people talk about it all the time, right? They made one decision to change their whole, life
Exactly.
down the road. And that's how people ask me that all the time. Like, well, that's how they did it. They're not anything special. They just made a decision to like just get in the door.
Right.
Yeah. So awesome. So tell us what you got going on these days.
Well, we've got, as I told you, we're shifting into the multifamily. So we're investing in multifamily, and we're also investing in Airbnb um, properties, so short-term rentals, and that's our latest project, along with our real estate. We're still helping families buy their first or second or third homes, and also working with a lot of investors. But now we've kind of pivoted for us on the investment side. We think those are two good asset classes to, especially now with the market, to invest in for the future. So
Yeah, I think Airbnb is still super interesting. And I would love to have you back sometime to just focus on that. We probably could talk all day if they let us.
yeah,
But all of those are all interesting topics I think everybody is thinking about. And
yeah,
I love your input on that. So for today, we shared a ton of stuff, and I know that we always, as a tradition, we always ask our guests to share one quote that they would like to tell the world. And Michael, do you want to tell everybody what your quote is?
yeah. It's actually a quote that I fell in love with many, many years ago. It's attributed to Theodore Roosevelt, and it says, "No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care." And I think that's so true in life. You know, it doesn't matter unless you genuinely care about the person you're in a relationship with, about them.
Yeah, I mean, so true, right? Like if you care, then you lead with that.
Right. And it's about you, right? If you're my customer, it's about you. It's not about me. It's not what if I do my job right, I'm gonna get paid. That's why I got into this. But I have to make sure that, your goals are met, and what you want to accomplish, that's my job. And to help you achieve your goals. And it's servant. It's all about service. And I grew up about, servant leadership and being a servant and serving your community. And that's why I got into real estate. And for me, it was about just serving and providing value to those around me, and helping them improve their lives as I improve mine.
Nothing could be said better, or a way to be in life. And Michael, I know how much you care, and I appreciate you, and I care a lot about you as well. And really looking forward to all the success and all the people that you're going to be able to help. And we appreciate you for being on the show and sharing all of your knowledge with us.
Well, thank you, and thanks to everybody for listening.
Okay, and lastly, how can everybody find you?
They can go to our website, which is www.fernandezugarte.com, or they can go to LinkedIn and just look for @Mike Ugarte.
Okay,
LinkedIn, Instagram. Sorry,
Instagram.
LinkedIn, Instagram.
Yeah, @Mike Ugarte. I'll have those things in the show notes as well, so that people can find it. Thank you again, and wish you a great week, and we will talk soon.
All right, take care.
All right, bye.
Take care, Leo. Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure that you subscribe to receive notifications of all new episodes, and please give us a positive review. And if you want to hang out with us live, check out our YouTube channel, where you can continue the conversations with me and our guests.